Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of What If Sonic Frontiers Had a Tournament. In this series, we take a look to see how the tournament would function under the End, which still aims to set itself free from its cyberspace prison just through the ascension of a champion in a tournament, where those who are eliminated get captured like we saw Knuckles and the others in Sonic Frontiers. So far we've seen Sonic and friends forced to face one another despite their alliance thanks to the End's machinations. Who will be the next to fall? If you end up enjoying yourself, please like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can support this series and keep up to date when the next video comes out. Most importantly, please share this video if you think it's enjoyable so that other people can join in and the whole conversation around this idea may grow. Sonic and friends are far more quiet than usual as they contemplate the recent loss of Tails. Elsewhere around the arena perimeter, however, Dr. Eggman types away with his personal computer, seemingly up to something. Keeping his voice low, he speaks. "Sage, report." An AI companion speaks back to the Doctor. "I have located there are at least 3 Chaos Emerald signatures within these Starfall Islands. As you predicted, they may have been drawn to these places by a mysterious force. I'm devising a route from your current location to best acquire them now." "Excellent work, Sage. I knew I could count on you. Keep up the good work." Of course, sir." Zavok looks over. "Mumbling away, are we, Doctor? What is it you're planning?" "Nothing of your concern, Zavok. Why don't you focus more on your little cronies?" "We're gonna be focusing on your head soon enough," Zaz says maniacally. But Zavok puts a hand on his shoulder. "Patience, Zaz. Regardless of how well the old man performs, as soon as he comes up against one of us, our vengeance will be brought upon him." The End announces the next battle will be between Tangle and Zavok. The Red Zeti grins, saying, "At last, finally I'll be able to demonstrate how outclassed these fools are." His associate Zaz is excited as well. "Yeah, go crack some skulls!" But Xena seems less amused as she tells Zavok to not take too long. This enrages him for a small moment. "Don't tell me what to do. I will do as I please." And he walks onto the arena. Meanwhile, Tangle is excited, hopping up from foot to foot. It's time to get that monster for everything he's done in the past. Whisper, though, walks over to her and puts one of her hands on Tangle's shoulder, telling her to be careful. Tangle says don't worry. Doesn't she remember who she is? Tangle was not going to let herself get eliminated in the first fight. But Whisper simply repeats, "I mean it." And Tangle gives her a quick nod before leaping onto the arena to face Zavok, who is stood there nonchalantly with his arms behind his back. Meanwhile, Tangle stamps a foot down and points at him, saying that it's time he faces the consequences of his actions. She's not going to let him decimate the world again. Zavok, assumingly only just noticing that the lemur is against him, looks to her. "Do I know you?" Causing Tangle to do a double take before composing herself, and she says, "What do you mean you don't know me? We fought before." Zavok thinks for a moment, putting a hand to his chin, shakes his head, and sighs, "I have no recollection." Tangle is about to explain who she is, but he simply raises up a hand. "Wait, you're about to be imprisoned here for the rest of your life. I do not need to know your name." Tangle is furious, and with this, she runs towards Zavok to beat him up. Zavok doesn't seem to think much of Tangle as he simply clicks his head, checks his arm, and speaks, "So what is it you do?" But he gets cut off as her powerful tail whips around, smacking him across the jaw, causing him to lurch to his side as she uses the momentum to then do a flying kick into Zavok's face, knocking him back a couple inches. He rubs his forehead and pushes her away with his free hand, but Tangle moves again, striking for his chest. This time he blocks it and counters with a thrust of his own. However, Tangle evades the attack by doing a sideways handstand, positioning herself behind Zavok, giving her the opportunity to kick him in the back. He doesn't seem to take much damage from it, but he's getting annoyed. "You're a pesky one, aren't you?" He decides to spin around with both arms extended, catching Tangle and launching her further than one might have assumed. Tangle realizes that Zavok still packs quite the punch and decides to keep a bit more distance, using her elastic tail to hit him from a great distance without putting herself in danger. Zavok doesn't wait to deal with this barrage and instead leaps high into the sky before diving straight down with a ground pound attack above Tangle. She manages to avoid the attack, but the shockwave still jumps her up into the air for a moment. Zavok then claws at Tangle, but he misses, allowing her to wrap him in her elastic tail as if tied by rope. She stands confidently in front of him, telling him that it's over. Zavok simply sighs. "You realize you've just made it easier for me to hurt you." And his hands begin to glow as a flame erupts from them, setting her tail on fire. She immediately yelps out in pain and lets him go, trying to blow the flame out of her tail. Then she looks accusatorially at him, saying that she almost burnt her tail off. Zavok rolls his eyes and sarcastically remarks, "I'm sorry. This time I'll try to get all of you." And he starts throwing numerous fireballs with his arms, like a windmill of flame, towards Tangle, who, surprised, shocked, and fearful, is running, jumping, and rolling between the flames, trying to avoid catching fire. Zavok keeps this up, laughing maniacally as he does. "This is quite fun." Zaz from the sidelines is getting excited as well. "Yeah, toast 'em, boss!" But Xena just rolls her eyes. Whisper looks attentively, following each movement, hoping Tangle manages to continue evading them. However, seeing that his attacks aren't landing, Zavok then strikes the ground with his fist, causing a fissure to open up, moving towards Tangle's current location. With his other hand, he extends forth and summons a pillar of fire to spew from the gap in the arena, causing Tangle to have to pick a side. Unfortunately, the wall of flame lingers and it cuts her off from most of the arena's space, allowing Zavok to corner her. From here, she knows she has to fight the old-fashioned way, sending a hefty strike with her tail towards Zavok. This time, he merely blocks it with his wrist. Tangle is surprised, and then he grabs her tail and yanks her towards him, causing her to fall on the floor in front of him. Zavok steps on her back, causing her to yelp out in pain as she slams the ground with her hand, trying to resist but unable to as he pushes his weight down upon her. Whisper from her side of the arena calls out "Tangle!" and tries to shoot Zavok with her Wisp-On. But the shot ricochets off of the invisible barrier, preventing the action from succeeding. She is instead forced to watch in anguish from the side of the arena as Zavok continues to press down on Tangle. He then begins yanking her tail in the opposite direction whilst pressing her to the floor, causing her even more pain as tears come from her eyes. Whisper bangs against the barrier, but it just shocks her and she's unable to push through. Sonic and the others look solemnly, clenching their fists, knowing there's nothing they can do. Zavok continues to do this for a few moments before Infinite speaks up. "Get it over with. I have worlds to conquer." "As do I," Zavok responds as he picks Tangle up by the tail and starts spinning her around above his head like a lasso until he lets go, throwing her right in front of Whisper, causing Tangle to crash against the invisible barrier face to face with Whisper, though it's clear that Tangle is not conscious anymore. And Whisper looks with horror as Tangle slowly smudges down against the invisible barrier and crumples at the floor of the arena. She gets to her knees to remain head level with Tangle and puts her hand once again on the barrier, but Tangle slowly fades away. Zavok stays on the arena for a moment and laughs. "Ha ha ha ha! It's good to be bad. As he walks off to join the Zeti on his side, whilst Whisper cries out and hits the ground. Useless, unable to save her friend. Styx the Badger seems curious of Whisper and her current saddened state, and thinks that she's going to go and make things better. But before she arrives, the Rookie stands between her and shakes his head, suggesting that it wouldn't be a good idea. Before any other hijinks have a chance to ensue, the End proceeds to announce the next battle. And it says that the entrance will be Chaos versus Rouge. And at the mention of Chaos, Sonic, Eggman, and a few others look stunned. Knuckles stutters, Chaos? No way! How is this possible? But he doesn't need to question much longer, as seeping out from one of the cracks in the arena from a previous match, a puddle of water emerges, and rising from that is a very familiar watery figure. Forming into a humanoid shape, Chaos has arrived. Though this is not the Chaos most commonly seen in other media, for Chaos here somehow has acquired a Chaos Emerald, and this has put him in his Chaos 1 form, towering over what we know as Chaos 0, with a bone-like appendage in one of his arms, and a lot more power to boot. Furthermore, this Chaos has an extra limb, a tail, because unlike in the past, he is complete, and a frog has not stolen a part of his body. Therefore, we are witnessing Chaos 1 at his maximum potential. To best illustrate this, we'll be borrowing some art from the creator Cyberlord1109, who managed to come up with their own interpretation of what a completed Chaos 1 would look like. SBO notices the emerald within Chaos. Is that a Chaos Emerald? How is this possible? Infinite chuckles. So you're the original creature, are you? Perhaps I could have done a better job replicating your true form. Not that it will matter in the end. Chaos is unmoving and simply waiting on the arena for his opponent to arrive. Rouge takes a step back. You've got to be kidding me. I have to fight him? Shadow closes his eyes. Chaos is a very dangerous entity, especially with the power of an emerald. Like me, he can innately wield its true properties. You're going to have a very difficult fight here, Rouge. She gulps, but steadies herself. She's battled tough opponents before, and she's still here today. So as long as she's clever, she might be able to win this too. On her way to the arena, Knuckles steps in for some advice. I know a bit of Chaos. He's not a bad guy, but just be careful, Rouge. She gives him a false smile as she glides over onto her part of the arena. Internally, she has many doubts of this opponent. She's only heard of what Chaos is capable of, but she's never seen or fought against it herself. Infinite's illusions likely won't give her much useful information. She's just going to have to wing it. The fight begins as Chaos arches back and unleashes a low reverbing growl, raising his arms up in preparation for a strike. Rouge starts moving towards Chaos but keeps her eyes focused, unsure of what he's planning. Straight after, Chaos sends a fist towards Rouge and it extends to reach her. She manages to avoid the attack as it wasn't incredibly fast, but then Chaos swings with his other arm to hit her again. She has to hop over it and roll to the side, seeing as the first hand is coming round for a side slap. She manages to slide under it and then hops up into the air, spreading her wings to fly towards Chaos. Reacting to this, Chaos sends his arms into the sky and begins waving them around. But Rouge is an adept flyer and manages to weave between them, gaining on Chaos's true position. Once she's close enough, she descends from the sky and drops her heel towards Chaos's head, where his brain is located. But Chaos moves his arm containing the Chaos Emerald to block, Rouge's foot colliding with the bone-like structures within the arm and not striking the brain. Without giving up though, Rouge then decides to screw kick in a spiral downwards, going through the watery aspects of Chaos's arm and landing in front of him. Though at this point, the size difference is quite apparent, as Chaos 1 towers over even the likes of Dr. Eggman. Rouge isn't deterred and starts laying into him with decisive kicks towards the legs and torso. Each time her foot crosses across his body, water is sprayed out like paint across a canvas. Once she feels like she's done enough damage, she looks up, but her face suddenly turns for the worst, as all of the water that Chaos has lost quickly regroups from his feet and restores itself to its proper location. And since she's too close to avoid the next attack, Chaos backhands her with the bone-like structure in his arm, knocking Rouge almost to the complete other side of the arena. Her body is on fire, ironically, as Chaos deals a huge amount of damage with his attacks. Supporting herself on one knee whilst grabbing her bruised shoulder, Rouge can't help but analyse the misfortune of this scenario. She is a stealthy unit, not a brawler. This fight takes place out in the open with no preparation. It's not her field, and it doesn't seem to be her day. She can't help but utter, "I can't win this." Knuckles clenches his fist and cries out, "Come on, Rouge, don't give in so easily. Stay on the move and he can't hit you." Hearing this, Rouge shakes herself back to her senses. She's not one to give up so easily, and she takes up to the sky and begins to circle Chaos, though she's not sure how this is going to help in the long run. This time, Chaos sends one of his hands into the cracked surface of the arena, allowing it to spread throughout the gaps, and then burst out like a torrent into the sky at numerous points. Meanwhile, his free arm continues to try and swat Rouge. She manages to avoid the large arm, but this time, the many smaller tendrils of water coming from the surface are too much, and she's eventually snagged by one of them. As soon as the connection happens, Chaos swings down at her with all of his might, smacking her to the surface of the arena and knocking her out cold. Rouge is defeated, and she fades away. Knuckles roars in anger and starts shouting towards the sky, "Curse this tournament! Are we supposed to just watch each other vanish, one by one, and do nothing? I won't stand for this. There's something we must be able to do." Infinite can't help but join in on this opportunity. "Commander, you seem to have not gotten used to the losses of your comrades. I had imagined it was something you would have been well versed in by now." "Alright, you!" But Sonic once again stops him. "Simmer down, Knuckles. If we interrupt now, their sacrifices will be for nothing." "That's easy for you to say, Sonic. You probably think you're going to win this thing. But what if we don't? Did you think about that? What if we fail? What if Cream and Tangle and Rouge and Vector and everyone is trapped here because we just played by these stupid rules? Knuckles, either we win this and set things right, or we have a tantrum and jeopardize everyone's sacrifices now, guaranteeing that they all stay trapped. What would you rather want?" Knuckles grumbles, crosses his arms, and keeps quiet. Things have not been going the greatest for Sonic and friends. These last few fights, we've seen a lot of the core cast and their friends get eliminated, but of course, there can only be one winner. And now we've gotten past half of the contestants in this tournament for the first round, which is exciting. Quite a few fights have already taken place, but don't worry, there's certainly still quite a bit to go. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you did enjoy your time here, please leave a like, subscribe, and share the video around so that I know you keep wanting to see it and other people have a better chance of finding it themselves. Feel free to leave a comment in the description based on how you feel the fight should have gone, or who you think will win based on the matchup chart you can see on screen right now. With that all said and done, I hope you have a great day and to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor, signing off.